In today's video tutorial, we are going to be using Adobe Photoshop to create ourselves this retro logo for a made-up company called Wilderness Co., which is an outdoor gear company. Before we get started today in Photoshop, we do need to download a few freebies off the internet, so I need you to open up your web browser. And the first freebie we need is this font called Retromark Script, and that's from dafont.com. It's a freebie. I'll post the link in the description of the video below. Another one is Ebrima, just a simple font here from Font Zone. Again, posting the link to this in the description below the video. Same with these brushes we're about to download as well. This Grit and Grain collection of brushes. There's 15 of them in the collection. Download them from this blog here. And you'll also need some mountain brushes, which will look a bit like that from photoshopfreebrushes.com. Okay, so all those links will be in the description of the video below. Okay. Once you have downloaded all those, please install the two fonts. Just double click on them and they will install automatically. And as for the brushes, we're going to import them into Photoshop a bit later, and I'll show you how to do that in a few minutes' time. So let's head back to Photoshop and we'll get started on making our design today by going to File and New. And from the Print Templates, choose the A4 settings. Change your orientation to Landscape, your color mode to CMYK color, so it's ready for printing. And your background contents, let's change that to we'll make it to a really dark grey. So a nice dark grey that I've been using as I practice this logo is the hashtag 121212, and click OK and create, and we've got our canvas all ready now to design our logo on. So the first thing that we're going to do to get started with the logo is basically draw that diamond shape in the background, and to do that we start by drawing a square. So head over to your toolbox on the left side here and choose the rectangle tool, and for your fill color at the top here, just hit the little color box, and in the hexadecimal color section we're going to change its color. So we're going to change it to the number 1B, 1C, 1C. It's a little bit lighter than the background color. Okay, so click on OK once you've got that, and we'll change the stroke color. You can see mine already set in place because I did this tutorial a moment ago, but you'll need to change yours, and the stroke color you want to use is 917754. Okay, once you've got that, click OK. Make sure in the next box you've got 50 pixels for the size of the stroke, and then you're ready to draw your square on the page. So hold down Shift, making sure all four sides are even, like so. And once you've got that drawn, using your Move tool, hover just off one of the edges, hold Shift, and rotate it 45 degrees. It's just a little bit big at the moment, so I'll just make it a bit smaller so we can fit it in on the page. Now the next thing, I'm just going to move it until I see my pink smart guides tell me that it's smack bang in the center of the page. And then I'm going to resize it just to deform the diamond a bit so we don't have equal sides. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down Alt and Control. Actually, I'll hold Alt and start dragging first, then I'll hold Control. And that will allow me to just move the top and the bottom corners of the diamond. We're going to bring it into a shape, I guess something similar to that right there. I'm just going to use a ruler to see how accurate that was. Oh, I've knocked it a little bit off center. Probably not a major issue. If you want, you could probably just give it a quick rotate. That pretty much centers it up alright. Okay, so feel free to use your ruler there just to see if those little white anchor points are running roughly through the center of that line. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to hit the tick at the top of the page there to apply those changes, and using my Move tool again, I'll hold Alt and simply drag that out so it fills a good chunk of the canvas. Don't want to go right to the edge, but we'll go pretty close like so. That way we've got a nice big high quality logo. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start putting some text in onto the logo. Okay, so the first text we might put on is, we might put the name of the company, Wilderness Co. first of all. So we'll start with the word wilderness, which is really big in the middle. So grabbing your text tool, your type tool, whatever they call it in Photoshop there, we're going to change our font. Okay, it's going to be the Ebrima font that we downloaded a bit earlier. Okay, once you've got Ebrima font selected, change its style from regular to bold, and its size needs to be, where do I have it at in my tutorial? I think it's about 80 point. So it's pretty big. That should be good to go. So actually, we've got to change the color too, sorry. Now the color he wants just a light grey, so it's an off-white kind of color. The color I'm going to run with is, if you type it in here, AAA 9A9. Okay, it's like a light grey. If you want, you could always make that a little bit lighter. Actually, I might make it a little bit lighter. I'll go all C's. So it's not quite white, but it's just an off-white. And in the middle of the page, in capital letters, write the word wilderness. Alright, now once you've got that in, just move it across to the center. So it's smack bang in the center of your page. Again, use your smart guides to line that up. And I might just check using my little text properties here how everything's looking. I think it might be a bit tall, so I'm going to change the vertical scale here to 110. I don't know what I keep pressing, but I keep going into German mode. 100's a bit small. We'll go to 110. So 110% for the vertical scale I think will look good for that. Other than that, I think we might leave it as is. So just double checking that that is in the center. There we go. So that's looking pretty good. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to write the word co down a little bit lower using similar font. It'll be in capital letters still. Okay, it's just going to be a bit smaller. So instead of 80 point, let's drop it back to, say, 50 point. We'll leave the vertical scale at 110 there. What I'm going to do is shift it over to the center as well. Just using my guides to line it up in the center. Okay, so I think that looks pretty reasonable for now. The next text we're going to add is that goldy color. So we'll grab the text tool again, and this time up the top where you can change the color, just click on the gold color and it will come up automatically with the 927754 color code. Click OK. Now the first font we're going to pick is the RetroMark script that we downloaded before. We're going to change the size to 35 point, and we should be good to go now. We're going to write, that came out a bit big, I might undo that. We'll click outside the diamond, and we're going to write, only with capitals at the start, Authentic Australian. So 2 capital A's and the rest are in lowercase. And we're going to move that just above the word wilderness. Actually, what I might do is I might bring it down level with the word wilderness. And then I'm going to nudge it up using my arrows, so I know how far it is up above the text. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So at 10 spaces up above the word wilderness. Looks pretty good. Now that we've got Authentic Australian written, the next thing we might do is write quality outdoor gear down below it here. So I'm going to click outside the diamond, and I'll write in capital letters quality on one line, and then on the next line outdoor gear. Now the font we want to use for this one is Twen. Oops. Spell it right. Twen, why is that not coming up? Let me have a look. There it is. TWSen. Sorry, that's why it didn't come up. TWSen MT is what we are looking for. The size is going to be 25 point. Just the regular font. It's not bold or anything like that. The other thing we might do, I'll just bring this down so you can see it a bit clearer. There it is. The other thing I might do is put a bit of a gap between all these letters. So the way we do that is we change the tracking just here. I'm going to set it to about 50, and you'll see that a bit of a space appears between each of the letters. Just look at this vertical scale. I want to see what 100 looks like. I probably looked alright at 110. I might leave it there at 110. Okay, now what I'm going to... No, actually, no, it doesn't look that good. I might leave it at 100. 100% for the vertical scale. Now I'm going to move this up level with the word wilderness as well. So get it perfectly centered, and then I'm going to nudge it down 10 spaces. So holding shift, press the down key, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, bit of a gap between those words too, which I don't really like. I might change this to number 25. So the leading, it's called, it's just the line spacing, is going to be set to 25 point. Okay, so clicking off it, they're looking pretty good at the moment. Alright, so from here we might bring in our brushes and start to put some brushes in. So I want some mountains up the top of my logo here. So I'm going to pick up my brush tool, and I have already imported these brushes a bit earlier, but just to show you how to do it, I'll pretend they're not there. You go to this little cog on the right hand side and go import brushes, and you go and download the mountain brushes. You import the mountain brushes that you downloaded earlier. Okay, and they will appear in a folder like so, and you can open them up and choose whichever mountains you think will look best in your logo. I'm going to run with these three just here. Okay, now they're going to be... Won't let me put them in straight away. We need to actually make a new layer. So hit that little plus sign there next to the trash can, which will make a new layer. I might call it mountains so we know what it is. And you'll see the mountains are way too big. So change the size up the top here. Bring it down. I'm going to make it about 600 pixels. And that should fit up there nicely. I'm going to make this diamond a bit smaller in a sec. It's a bit too big for my liking, so I might put those there. That gold color doesn't really suit actually. I might change it. So with my brush selected, I'm going to change the color probably back to this white, this off-white color. Click OK, and I'll put them back up the top here. Yeah, I think that looks a bit better. Okay, now I'm going to click back on this diamond. It's just annoying me that it's a little bit too big, so I'm going to hold Alt and just move it in a bit tighter around the text. There we go, that looks a fair bit better. Okay, so our logo's starting to look alright. This Co still seems a little bit out of place, so maybe about there looks better. Alright, so our logo is almost finished. The last thing we need to do is throw a bit of grit over the top of it. So we're going to import another brush into Photoshop. So let's go to our brush tool again. And like we did before, hit that little cog up the top here and import a brush. And just import those grit and grain brushes that you downloaded a bit earlier. Now I've done it before, so there's my folder there with them. Bit hard to see what they are because it's really fine speckles or grits and grains scattered on the page. Basically I want to go with the fourth or the fifth one across. You choose which one suits you. Now when we put it on the page, again we need to make a new layer for it. So go down to your layers and make a new layer. I'm just going to call it grit. And now if you hover over the top of your page, you're going to see that where that brush is going to go. Okay. So I want to make it a little bit bigger than what it is now so it fills the whole page. You can go up to the size lever up here and pull it up a bit bigger, or you can use your right square bracket to make it a bit bigger. So I'm just going to use my right square bracket so it fills the entire page. That looks alright. Actually it does look a bit too gritty. I might actually change my brush back to this fourth one here, which won't be as gritty. Again, just using your right square bracket, press it a few times to make it a bit bigger. Alright, so with this brush, what we're going to do, we're not going to fill up the whole page with it. Okay, if we do that, it kind of looks like stars in the sky. It looks probably a bit too messy and a bit too gritty. So I'm going to undo it. And instead, I'm going to go back down to this rectangle one here. This is actually the diamond. I might rename it so we know that that's the diamond. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Control on my keyboard and click on this little square next to the word diamond, and when I do that, marching ants appear around that shape. So I've actually selected my diamond. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to go back up to my grit layer. So while I've still got this diamond selected, okay, I'm actually going to be painting onto the grit layer. So when I actually click now, all that happens is the grit appears inside of the diamond, so the outside stays clean. And that's the look I'm going for. So I'm going to go back and grab my move tool now and go to select and deselect to get rid of those marching ants. And I'm just going to work on this grit layer. Okay, I think it's still a little bit too gritty. What I want to do is sort of fade it into the background a bit more. And I also want that grit to appear over the top of some of this text, and I want it to stand out a bit more on the stroke there around the outside of the diamond. So I'm going to change the blend mode here from normal. So remember, grit layer needs to be selected. We're going to change the blend mode here. I think difference, which is down near the bottom, will look pretty decent. As you can see now, the grit starts to appear on the letters, and you can see it a bit clearer on the stroke. To just tone it down a little bit more, I'm going to change the opacity here. So just change the opacity, which is how transparent it is, and drop it down to about 60%. And that's looking pretty damn good, I reckon. So I think we have got ourselves a finished logo. Okay, so we will save that up. Remember to save it as a PSD file if you want to keep all the layers, so you can come back and edit it later. I'd probably do that first, and then a second time, export it as a PNG. Okay, that'll save as a high quality logo still. Okay, and just save that into wherever you are saving. And you have finished.